And just as, maybe I need the mic, maybe I don't. Just as a cautionary, it was rejected from the Greenleaf. So I guess with that said, you have an exit located behind you and to your left. Further on that note, I really don't know where to place this form of writing. It's more like an aphorism, kind of like an observation, kind of like a diagnostic piece, if you will. So here it goes. Alright, this first aphorism is called A Pardon for Realization. And I'm sorry if you hear my heartbeat through my voice. I get a little nervous. I cannot speak the way you want me to. I cannot argue in the manner that is straightforward, but I am well suited for thinking, the kind that gets you everywhere and nowhere, sunk into a pit of frustration and indecision. How do we seem to make things move so fast in a single direction? I ask because I feel slow. It is nothing but stressful, creating nuggets of stress. I feel it storing in parts of my body. It ends up resting more than I do. It is impossible to keep working as I do. How do other people live like this, if you can call it living? Have people grown so attached to aspects that belong to an artificial nature that they are beginning to mimic their tendencies? Their ability to keep working at the pressing of a button? Exactly. I see this as misery at its purest, occurring when people are not even aware of it, amongst the dragging of their feet and the drudgery of their routine. But they feel it in silence, and that is just how they respond to it, in silence. This type of neutrality is not the end result of mixing two emotional extremes the individual has been visiting, but the standstill of their character. Neutrality that is analogous to a machine. But in the context of the argument I am not defending, this is seen as a fully functioning machine. If there is any shroud of comfort in this absurd combination of words, for those individuals who hide behind its colorful and superficially attractive banner, then please reach out and take it. Now, the more appropriate question is how one arrives at this neutrality that I had mentioned. Is it a matter that the nascent structures we are exposed to and interact with act as a substitute for the venturing of our emotional states? But every substitute, like such, is not comparable to the languishing theatrical movements these neutrals are desperate but seemingly hopeless to enact. The process of taking back the fulfillment of our emotions and experiences that we are entitled to from the mass of devices and inventions that have stolen them, those which allegedly make our lives easier, is to break the ties to our desensitization of realization. In the rejection of values of these external stimuli, there is an underlying preference and genuine curiosity for the individual who is distracted by their internal exhibitions and drives, but only as to articulate them on the basis of words and temporary visuals, to end in the other's imagination and prodding of their own internal exhibitions. And so the process may carry on from one individual to the next, ideally and perhaps romantically. Our emotions are acting at their peak and an aesthetic high when articulated. At this time it looks to be the ultimate investigation of ourselves, one that has been postponed, distraction after distraction. This leaves our emotions confused with the manner in which we live, yearning for a bond with reason that lies simply in our language. Must it be a question that our emotions have desires to simply be, even if the emotion one feels underneath their surface is not in the form of desire itself? Our emotions have desires in and of themselves. And this second aphorism, it's a lot shorter, is called At the End of the Night. We may recognize the array of systems of thought, the plenitude of organization that has presented itself with the establishment of things. At the end of the night, and yet early in the morning, let's see, I lost my place there. At the end of the night, and yet early in the morning, we only bear to realize the successful institutionalizing and organization of the self. We forget that in the foundations we have built, there exist pieces of us laid in the brick. I am not surprised that each building does not come with arms and legs. If anything, this is where we are being directed, for the representations of ourselves do indeed take up much space, to the point where one must be moved for another, seen as far better, convenient, and efficient in its standing. But why do we do this if it ends with us falling into camouflage? Have you any room for thought that goes deeper than automatic and ideal responses? Sorry if that was